Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. There's a very popular attorney within the XRP community who is asserting that the SEC is using the lawsuit that they have filed against Ripple as a weapon. And I gotta tell you, I tend to agree, because the SEC, after years of not providing sufficient regulatory clarity surrounding what they consider in terms of digital assets to be or not be a security, after all that, they decide to go after Ripple, and it sure as hell to me looks like looks a bit like a blend of a money grab and a power grab, because the SEC is competing against all sorts of other government agencies for power over this space. And given that Congress has not sufficiently indicated which government agency should be in charge of what, it's not terribly surprising. And of course, there can be more than one agency that's in charge of cryptocurrency, or perhaps even just different aspects of it. But nonetheless, it certainly looks to me like there are bad intentions here. Would that not be fair to say? They sure as hell don't care about your typical XRP holder and the financial devastation that their suit brought on Jay Clayton's way out the door. His last full day in office, filing this suit against Ripple and then just exiting stage left because he doesn't give a damn. It looks awful here. And so it's attorney John Deaton who has offered a new hot take on all of this, which I'm going to be running through. And I really found the way that he put together this most recent hot take very interesting, because some of the facts you may have heard before, but he put them together in such a way that they, like, one segues perfectly to the next, and it adds power to the story that's actually occurring here. So just wait until you hear how things occurred sequentially rather. And to me, it's just kind of like mind-blowing. Like, honestly, just going through it, it made me start to feel upset a little bit. And don't worry, I'm good at controlling my damn emotions, right? And I'm a happy dude by nature, so it's not like I was actually getting angry, but I was just feeling... I was feeling like it was grinding my gears. Let's just say it in a Moon Lab way. I felt like knowing what the SEC had done and seeing it portrayed in this order, it was grinding my gears. Now, I do want to be clear that I don't have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice, and you should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I just am an enthusiast who likes making YouTube videos as a hobby on the topics of Ripple and XRP and crypto-related topics and stories, but that is indeed all that it is. Always want to give credit where it's due, and so I want to encourage all of you to follow John Deaton if you've not yet done so. On Twitter, he is at his first name, John, John, middle initial, the letter E, last name, Deaton, Deaton, and then the number 1. And he actually went to the trouble of transcribing part of an old video clip from Ethereum creator Vitalik Buterin. So check this out. It begins as follows. I have transcribed the below Vitalik Buterin speech. Just as I did with the recent hearing in the SEC versus Ripple case, I prefer to read the words said as opposed to hear the words. He writes in parentheses, sometimes we hear what we want and not what's actually said. So if you're worried about that, since I am going to be reading it, feel free to read it for yourself on the screen. But I will say this, even though that's a fair enough point, the way, again, I want to reiterate, the way that he has laid this out, and I think most people are going to agree with me, it added a lot of power to just the overall narrative of what's occurring here, where each individual piece, yes, it's noteworthy. I've talked about a lot of this before, but when you thread it all together and you paint the big picture, it's just infuriating. And so John Deaton's thread continues, and this is a quote now from the video. So anyway, okay, so I'll take a bit about, talk a bit about the money model. This is Vitalik talking about the early days of Ethereum and how he's going to do his ICO, even though it wasn't called an ICO. And then he continues, and this is Vitalik now. So we will have a fundraiser for 2 months starting February 1st. It will be available at funds.ethereum.org. So we'd use it for the initial issuance will be 1,000 ETH for 1 Bitcoin, or up to 2,000 ETH for 1 Bitcoin if you get in early to compensate increased risk. So the issuance model is that we will fund, suppose we handed out X Ether for the fundraiser. Then there will be about 0.5x will be pre-mined, and then 0.4x after that will be mined per year. Yeah, and by the way, I'm appreciative that he took the time to to write that out exactly as it was spoken by Vitalik Buterin. I will tell you, the video clip, it goes on a little bit longer, and part of what he also stated, this is the video, where he said that their distribution model, it's designed to be a blend of Mastercoin, which I know nothing about. I don't even know if it's still around, but Mastercoin and Ripple, that's what he cited. Which just goes back to this idea of, okay, so if Ether, what they did, they get the thumbs up, a stamp of approval from the SEC, but Ripple doesn't, it's kind of alarming, right? And so John's thread continues. He wrote, I own ETH along with Bitcoin and XRP. I do not believe that Ether is a security. It may seem that I pick on ETH because I do compare it to XRP, but I have no choice. The SEC has not made a material distinction between ETH and XRP ever prior to this case and during this case. Yeah, and that's spot on, and that's exactly why when you look at Bill Hinman's words, which, by the way, wait until you see what John Hinman has to, or sorry, what John Deaton has to say about Bill Hinman in this thread here. He put some details out there that I actually hadn't seen before, and it was fascinating. But even if you go back to what was publicly articulated by SEC Director Bill Hinman, fine, he wasn't comparing it to XRP, most certainly was not, but why would we not, or anybody else in the space, why would anyone not compare it to ETH? Because if you're trying to figure out if what you're doing will be considered to be a security by the SEC, wouldn't you compare it to what has been made publicly known by the SEC? Oh, the answer is yes. Dum-dums, like, not you guys, but of course we are. Of course we absolutely are, which makes it that much more ridiculous that the SEC is trying to make this evidence that they have, all of their internal documentation about their opinions, the SEC's internal opinions about Bitcoin and ETH. They're trying to make that information undiscoverable. They don't want that to be admissible for the duration of this court hearing, which is pretty gross to me because it's extremely relevant. And so then he writes, review Vitalik's words above. Now, listen to former SEC Chairman Clayton describe what he and the SEC believe are classic security offerings in the below video and testimony. And what he had here, there is this clip here. I'm not going to play the actual clip, but it was tweeted out by my fellow XRP YouTuber, the Digital Asset Investor, and he actually went ahead and transcribed some of this. And so here's what Jay Clayton said in this clip, in part. It's the relevant portion. Folks somehow got comfortable that this was new and it was okay and it was not a security. It was just some other way to fundraise money. And then Senator Warren, who is within this video clip here, I should stop, that's distracting me, said, I'm understanding you to say it is a violation of the law. Jay Clayton said, yes, exactly. So we're talking about entities that are supporting projects, whether it's Ripple or whether it's the Ethereum Foundation, Vitalik Buterin, or pick your any other 8,000 plus coins. There are entities that are raising money. And so what they're citing right here, what Jay Clayton is pretty clearly stating is, again, quote, folks somehow got comfortable that this was new and it was okay and it was not a security. It was just some other way to raise money. And then John Deaton continues. Check this out. Trust me, it will get more infuriating as we go through the thread. In June of 2018, when XRP was battling ETH for the number 2 spot as the world's second largest cryptocurrency behind Bitcoin, the SEC's director of the Division of Corporation Finance, William Hinman, only 1 year after arriving at the SEC, gratuitously declares Bitcoin and Ether as non-securities. Hinman wasn't and he tagged the account here on Twitter, Hinman wasn't the SEC enforcement director. He wasn't even in the Division of Enforcement. Why is he opening his mouth and declaring these two products as non-securities? And so right there, is that not an interesting question? Why the hell is he the one doing this? Why not somebody else? And what about the conflict of interest I've been highlighting on this channel over the last few days or so? Because Bill Hinman, he worked at a law firm before joining the SEC, which had a vested interest in Ethereum. And so he leaves, and then he gets paid $15 million from his old law firm, which has a vested interest in Ethereum, while he's at the SEC. And then he got paid from the SEC, of course, on top of that, which wasn't nearly as much money. And then while at the SEC, he says Bitcoin and ETH, well, Bitcoin, I think it was already declared, but he's the one that said ETH Ether is not a security. Then, when he leaves the SEC, he goes back to his old law firm after making sure that their interests are looking A-OK. And so I'm not claiming he did anything illegal. What I am stating is that this looks like a clear conflict of interest, and I don't see how that would be disputable. And so John Deaton goes on. Check this out. He writes, "I have a theory. See below if you haven't already." And then he retweeted something from his on March 22nd. It was a tweet that said, "I have obtained all publicly available information that I can on Hinman. He made $15 million from his firm while at the SEC." And then his thread continues. "Why did Clayton and the SEC refuse to provide clarity for XRP? When asked by both CNBC and individual investors about XRP's status, Clayton, Hinman, and the SEC would only say, quote, 'We don't comment on specific products.'" Do you guys, end quote, do you guys remember that? Where this is the clip where it may have been said more than once, but the one I'm thinking of is when asshat Jay Clayton said that line. And he's got this S-word eating grin on his face, looking demonic, and he's claiming that they're not going to speak on specific products, but they did speak on specific products, Bitcoin and Ethereum. What the hell is that? And so John points that out. Says, "We won't comment on specific products." That's after commenting on the specifics of Bitcoin and ETH. And then John continues. In October of 2020, the SEC informed an individual investor that the SEC had not made a determination as to whether XRP is a security. 2 months later, the SEC files the case against Ripple and XRP. Now, in that tweet, he retweeted something from another attorney who's been speaking out within the XRP community. I'm sure most of you, I would guess, are familiar with at this point, Jeremy Hogan. It was a tweet from March 24th, and Jeremy Hogan wrote the following. "Another very interesting thing hidden in a footnote. The SEC told a retail XRP holder that emailed the SEC that it had not made a determination as to whether XRP was a security in, wait for it, October 2020. They might have been drafting the lawsuit in October." Think about that. And if they weren't drafting the lawsuit in October, you're telling me that they waited like about 8 years, and then from after October, so like November and December, they finally started looking into it, finally started drafting a lawsuit, and then it went forward? That's a little hard to believe. That would be something. That would definitely be something. And then John Deaton wraps up by saying the following. "Even with ETH getting this clarity over XRP still batted it for the number 2 spot throughout 2018. That's a pretty damn resilient digital asset if you ask me. So there is only one logical explanation. The lawsuit was intentionally used as a weapon. SEC, prove me wrong." Ba-bam. Round of applause for John Deaton yet again, absolutely killing it. I love the way that he threaded that together. When you hear everything sequentially like that, pointed out, because a lot of this stuff, not all of it, a lot of it I had highlighted on this channel before, and then when you see it in order like that, it's just that much more infuriating, is it not? And just the idea, because I didn't know this either, like, I don't know who's technically in charge of what at the SEC. I didn't know what the hell Bill Hinman was supposed to do. When John Deaton here points out that he's basically verbally articulating what SEC policy is with ETH, even if it's not legally binding. He's articulating that. And what the hell does that have to do with his role? Like, why isn't that anybody in enforcement pointing that out? It wasn't even Jay Clayton. Like, Jay Clayton, even I could understand that. But, he's running the SEC. He's the chair. It just doesn't. Guys, this does not pass the smell test to me. Again, I'm not going to go out and claim that something was done illegal, because I don't have evidence of that, and I like to act and form opinions based on real world facts. But I will go so far as to say is that at a minimum, this is a very strong conflict of interest, and Bill Hinman had to have known that, whether there was bad intent or good intent or no intent at all. Still understanding that you're talking about Ether, which you have to know your firm had a vested interest in. What are you doing there? What do you understand the optics of this at the bare minimum? So this is gross to me. So I don't know why the SEC for sure is doing what they're doing, but that's why I'm speculating that it certainly looks like a money grab and a power grab. And if it's something else, I don't know how to explain their behavior. I don't know how to explain their hypocrisy and their non sequitur logic. I don't know how to explain any of that stuff. Unless it is something to do with a power grab and a money grab and vested interest by individuals at the SEC. I don't know. I don't know what else it could be. So that is what's going on here. You guys let me know what you think. I think this is a hot take worth hearing, so I wanted to share it with everybody, but I will go ahead and wrap up there. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Lambo.